Hello everyone, Magdalena here, Wealth of Coins. Thank you so much for tuning in. As you can see, my huge project, and I mean huge because it's a big format, but a lot of details too. It's finished. It took me, I counted, I made logs, so when I was working on it, so it took me around 18.5 hours to complete from sketch till this. Yeah, the format is around, I think, 32 by 70 centimeters. And yeah, I can tell already that this video will be long. I know that many of you are excited about it. I'm excited too. I have like 11 pages of notes, and I'm pretty sure I will forget to talk about many things. But yeah, in case I forget or want to know something more, you can always ask in the comment section. I got my notes here. I got my tea here, some backup, last minute backup books. I mean, I use these books a lot, but yeah, in case I want to show you something or check something last minute, I can, because I have bookmarks. So let's start. So yeah, my purpose here is, and yeah, I'm sorry, it will be shaky because with my camera holder I couldn't show you the whole painting. So that's how we will do it. Unfortunately, my hand will be dying by the end probably. But yeah, I'll try to manage. So the whole idea is to talk about core Slavic beliefs about how the world is constructed, and like the construction of the pantheon, more or less, because as I will explain, it's not that easy. So yeah, let's start. Let me start. So first thing to begin with, it's there isn't something such as classical Slavic myths, like we don't have, like for Greek mythology, we have all those texts of the poets, and for Scandinavian, we have the Eddas, and for Hindu, we have also sacred texts. With Slavic mythology, basically Christianity did all it could to erase it, so we have only scraps, and that we put together. There is the richness there, but because of that, we cannot be like, okay, we are sure it was like this, and we're sure it wasn't like this. Everything is much more flexible. Well, to be honest, I think that also in, for example, Greek mythology, that is so well known, it was not like we have from the texts, because the texts were also a construction of some person, and they did not reflect whole of Greece, whole regions, and all times, because it all, it was changing. But I'm digressing as usual. So what we have is scraps of information on Slavic beliefs, like from old chronicles, and this is a really small part of what. Yeah, it's really not that much left. We learn from, for example, from records of what was forbidden by the church. So, like handbooks for priests, what they should ask during confession. Did you do this? Did you do that? And then, then you should, you shouldn't do that anymore, and you should atone. So from this, for example, we can learn what people did, what the church didn't like. From folk tales, folk beliefs, proverbs, topographic names, coats of arms, archaeology, whatever we can lay our hands on, we use. We meaning people researching Slavic mythology. Sip of tea. So then, a disclaimer at the beginning, as usual. My video will have a Polish angle to it because I'm Polish. That's what I'm most familiar with. That's what I have the best access to. However, I will try to supply like names from other Slavic regions as well. If you watch my video and you would like to tell me more about your region of Slavic beliefs, please write it in the comments section. I will be delighted to read it. There was never one set pantheon for all Slavic people. And as I mentioned, it was for other cultures as well. We like to put them into neat boxes nowadays, and we learn at school how it was, but we cannot really apply everything to the whole area. Each region and each time, each era had its own quirks and preferences. So I don't know. Well, for example, in Greece, we know about the tradition of 12 Olympian gods worship. This was probably a very political move to, to put the various states together and to have one official religion. But I'm pretty sure that depending on the region, some gods or goddesses were more powerful and they had more power than in the others. But so with Slavic beliefs it's even harder because, as I said, not too many written sources. Oh man, tea. However, we have records of gods that were popular in the whole Slavic world. And then, depending on the time and era, various gods would take the lead and accumulate more functions from other gods, becoming more powerful and universal. We have other examples like in other mythologies as well. For example, we know Odin. He accumulated some functions since he became the leader of the gods. And most probably it was not always so. It's possible that he's been more like a shamanic type of god and the god of magic. But then he also became the god of war, which he was probably originally not. But he gained popularity, so he accumulated various functions to be more universal. And many Greek gods went through similar process, and in many other traditions. So that's, So when talking about Slavic deities, it's hard to tell you, okay, this god was about this, and his attributes were this, and make everything clear. It's very unclear. So this is my vision, my idea, my proposition for you based on my my own research and my me trying to organize it all. Just to finish the previous topic, so some Slavic pagans can see one god as a creator, some the other, depending on which one they pick to be the more powerful, because gods would become more powerful, and then the older god would be replaced. And the important thing about Slavic gods and goddesses, they share a lot of attributes. also because of all of that I just said. So yeah, you can arrange the tree in different ways, and nobody can tell you it's wrong, actually. And this is how I see it. If you see it differently, well then, you're allowed to. You're entitled to that, of course. But let's finally start with the construction. So traditionally, Slavic people would see the world as divided into three. So we would have the other world, our human world, and the heavens. Okay, so three parts. Some modern pagans call them such as Navia or Nav, Yavia or Yav, and Pravia or Prav, which means Prav is from Pravda, so it's truth. Yavia is from Yava, which is the opposite of a dream, actually, so it means reality. And Navia is a known name for Slavic otherworld, where the dead are. Other names are for the heavens. We know Rai or Virai, and it might be traced to Iranian word Rai, which is really not surprising because we have a lot of proof that Slavic people at some point got very influenced by Indo-Iranian beliefs. So we have a lot of words connected to religion are actually of Iranian origin. And even, I don't know for other Slavic languages, but in Polish nowadays, Raj is what we use also in Christianity for paradise. So paradise is Raj. Okay, the Iranian word Raj meant heavenly light, happiness, wealth, things like that. Not necessarily heaven. Then, interesting fact, in modern Polish, the hell, let's say hell, the other world, is called piekło, which comes from verb piec, to bake or to burn, so it's a place where you burn. So it's still a Polish word, but for me it seems that we needed a new name for a place that was different to what we previously imagined. So we did not imagine the other world to be a burning place. But I will talk more about it later. Then the tree of the world, a very, very universal symbol and image around the world. So it stands in the middle of the world. It's like an axis mundi, so the center of the world. It can be also imagined as a huge pole with a pole star at the top, and everything is like revolving around it. Also a sacred mountain. Yeah, see what I did here? It might be a mountain. A sacred mountain being a center of the world, but also then in many tales we get the mountain with the tree on it. And the sacred spring. So if we're talking about those tales, we would see the sacred mountain where a sacred tree is. The tree might be a speaking tree. and it might tell the hero what to do. So, for example, I know it's actually one of my son's current favorite tales about the living water. And so the hero wants to resurrect his mother, and he gets instructions from some healer. And, you know, he goes through many hardships. He arrived at the place, and the tree tells him what he's supposed to do. And there is, I always mix them up, hawk or falcon. Okay, falcon. There's a falcon on the tree, and he goes up and he brings kind of a cup for the hero, so that he can take water from the spring, and with this resurrect his mother. So yeah, so this is that image. We have the egg here. I painted it gold because there are some versions of a golden egg from which the world was born. So it's a very common and universal myth that the world was born from an egg. And as you might remember from my video about Polish Easter, eggs are super important for us. Okay, then, oh, my nose. Okay, we have two types of water. So I marked this with these two streams here. One is paler, one is darker. And in Polish tales, they might be called weak water and strong water. We also get the living water, like in the tale. By the way, the tale I told you about, the young man trying to resurrect his mother, it's placed on Mount Ślęża, where I was with my husband recently. You can see a video about it. But yeah, a digression. In the Russian tradition, it's the dead water and strong water. You know, usually various types. Some scholars have a theory that these might mean like sweet water and salty water that you cannot drink, so it's like that. We don't know for sure, but we know that there is this distinction, and we have some tales talking about using both types. And they have various properties. Yeah, I will try to not digress too much, because this video will be long. I'm already at 18 minutes. So I won't get into many details, because this is a material. I could make many videos with only this painting. So, yeah. Let's proceed. Start from the roots. Navia. This is where the dead are, the ancestors. And we have snake/dragon kind of creature guarding the roots of the tree, which reminds us really strongly of Nordic mythology, right? But yeah, we have such stories as well. He is called, in Polish it's Żmi, in Russian I believe it's Zmi, and it comes from the word for snake or serpent, viper, things like that. The word itself comes from the word for earth, so it's a creature of the earth. We have also a guardian of a tree in the shape of this fiery falcon here. And there might also be like a third guardian that there are some stories. They are not very, they're not very well researched about a guardian of the tree, a deer. So I just discreetly put these here. But it would make sense because we would have three guardians of three worlds, right? So the snake for Navia, the deer for our world, and falcon for the heavens, for Veles. But yeah, so on the top here, we see some birdies. These are souls who are waiting to be born. So we have the dead here, but we have souls also here. There are theories that for Slavic people the soul had multiple parts. So there was not like in Christianity just one soul and it can go either here or there. It actually, when you died, you went in both places, kinda. So here you would join the ancestors and be taken care of. This gentleman I will talk about more later. And your other part would go up, turn like into a bird form and come back as a bird to our world and to be to come back in a child form. So yeah, reincarnation. What else I can say with those general thingies? Maybe the word for God itself, it also has Indo-Iranian connotations. In Iranian languages, we have the word Bhaga, which means goodness, wealth, and God as well. I believe that God is connected in English to goodness, to good. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but it seems probable. So it's the same path of like logic here. And in Polish we have Bóg for God and bogini for goddess. In Russian I believe it's Bog and boginia, and similar words in other Slavic languages, I suppose. The ancestor cult was extremely important, and it shows even today how important every major holiday has something to do with the worship of ancestors. Okay, so we have this snake. So what can I say about him? Yeah, it's a he. So, of course, there are various versions. We have this Żmi I told you about. We have, in Polish also, there is Król Węży, which means King of Serpents. That's why he has a crown. And this part kept, of course, the ancestors, but also all kind of treasure. Whether it would be like jewels, money, stuff like that, but also, earth that was giving us gifts of crops. So Żmi is often, or King of Serpents, he's often shown as like many dragons guarding treasures. Some versions say that King of Serpents was colorful as a rainbow, so I made him like this. Here we, where do I go? Yeah, I have my notes, but I was, I have so many things to say, I will forget half of them. Okay, let's go here. So here we have Veles, or Polish Nea. He was the ruler of the other world, of Navia. He took care of the souls there. Some see it like as him being the taking care of them as a shepherd, let's say, because the souls would be on those otherworldly pastures, symbolically. Like, he was also said to be god of cattle. That's why he has those horns, and the giver of wealth. He's closely connected to Zmi. Some say Zmi is his like animal form, so these two are really closely connected. He was also god of magic, also this type of like a shaman type of god. In Christian times, he got like turned into the devil image, so the horns really fit well. Yeah, his animals associated with him would be bear, wolf, black goat, black horse. So these are all like animals connected to this area, and the bear as the like a really strong. Slavic people were among those who did see divine in the bear. So that's also why we have a taboo on the word for bear. We don't use the proper Indo-European word for the bear. We say honey eater, or someone who knows where the honey is. So it's like, euphemism, taboo was there. Yeah, but digressing. So we see him here as the Lord of Navia. Then we have personified Mother Earth. Polish Matka Ziemia, Ziemia being Earth. Russian, okay, I will butcher this, Mać Syria Zemля, so the moist Mother Earth. I put this mark on her cheek because it's a symbol of the plowed field, and yeah, and she's brown like the earth, and she's connected to those roots, and she gives us the wealth of the crops. Also, she supports us as the earth itself. Slavic people had great respect for Mother Earth. They called her sacred, święta, and they would swear by her, they would kiss her. There will be like a ban on putting knives into the earth because it might hurt her. You were not supposed to spit on the earth because it's rude. Some scholars see the East Slavic goddess Mokosh as the personification of the fertile Mother Earth. So yeah. What else? Oh yeah, about Veles I forgot. Also about his attributes, it might be as a willow tree as well. It might be like his tree. Also because you could go to Navia through a trunk of a willow tree, and willows in general are very magical trees. Goodness. I'm losing words. And as I said, wolves, we have this story of like Christianized Veles in the shape of Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus. Yeah, he has the beard. Honestly, we have some characters present in the traditional Christmas time that can be traced to Veles. so he's, as I said, he's wealth giver, so it makes sense he would be connected to Santa. And he might be also, you know, shown as old and, you know, a lot of wisdom, experience. I wanted to say something else. Oh yeah, the wolves. So there is belief written down from some parts of Poland that Santa, so Saint Nicholas on December the 6th, so it's Saint Nicholas Day, would like hold an assemble of wolves and tell them what to do during the whole year. So he was like a lord of the wolves. I thought that it might also mean that he was the kind of a god of initiation, because wolves might also be seen as those young men initiated through, you know, putting on wolf furs and becoming warriors, something like that. But yeah, it's just what I thought. Okay, that's a lot of talking. So here we have two goddesses that some people see as two sides of one coin. Okay. Oh, by the way, these are us people. I put people here, like a woman and a man. I modeled them a bit on. Do I have this picture here? There is this famous figure, idol of Zbruch, so-called, and there are some like human figures there. Of course, I cannot find the picture now, but yeah. Anyway, it's one of the most famous Slavic pagan artifacts. Okay, I cannot find it, but it doesn't matter at the oh, it's here. Okay, so yeah, on this one, and I could make a whole video about this figure. It's four sides of one statue, but anyway, there are people there, and they have hands like this. They might be holding hands because, as I said, it's on four sides of one statue. So that's what I made. Why I made them like this. Okay, back to the topic of these. So some see them as two sides of one coin, and in Polish their names are Dziewanna and Marzanna. It can be an example of a goddess getting old, so Marzanna could be a crown goddess as well, and jumping to the waters to be like reborn or renewed, and like at the beginning of spring she would jump to the waters and be renewed as a young virgin goddess, Dziewanna here. We have other examples of that, like we have Hera in Greek mythology. She would take a bath once, like in a special sacred spring, where she would regain her virginity. Of course, later it got interpreted, like in classical times, that it was to please her husband, because he would enjoy taking her virginity again. Whatevs. No, it was not so. Originally, it was the meaning of a cycle, okay, that she would go the whole cycle and she would be young and maiden again. Also, virgin did not always mean what it means now. It also meant just an unmarried woman, okay? So a woman who doesn't have responsibilities and doesn't have her own family, let's say. She doesn't belong to anyone. Yeah, where was I? But we can also see them separately. So I will quickly, yeah, I'll try and talk quickly about these two. So Giovanna is described in the chronicles as a kind of a Diana type goddess. So she was lady of the hunt, and you know, of the forests. That's why we have a forest here. And she would hunt with her bow. And also she would be connected to wolves and bears, just like Veles here, because she's connected to the woods, to the forest. And as we know, the underground, the forests, and the waters, they are all believed to be the domain of the spirits and the dead, because it's the opposition of familiar, the house, and the unknown, like the forest, the water. Okay, so her name, she gave her name to a plant called malin, and it has many healing properties, but it has also been used for many, many years to make candles. And I have a reason to believe that she is strongly connected to a celebration of February the 2nd. I believe in the Celtic traditions, it's a holiday of Bridget. So think of her as a bit similar, because she's the light bringer. She has a really fiery properties, let's say. She might be also associated with Aurora figure, as Jutrzenka, which means aurora in Polish. We have those stories, like this image of Aurora being the sister of the sun and the lover of the moon, and like a model for the bride. The bride is beautiful as an aurora. Okay. Oh, and her tree would be pine tree. So she would be this typical maiden goddess, and yeah. Sorry, my mind is scattered. So then Marzanna gave her name to mother. I will write it there. You know, the plant that gives red dye. And even some very critical scholars said that there weren't such goddesses. They were made up. It's only plant names. Okay, I'm recording this part again because I think my files some of them are getting damaged, maybe because of the memory overload, I don't know. But the Marzanna part got, kind of deleted, so I have to record it again, and I hope I won't forget anything. But, so... other versions of her name are Morana or Morena. She's seen as goddess of crops. She has this, wheat spike here. She is compared to Ceres, or Demeter, in the old chronicles. It's goddess of cycles. She has the key to the earth. She closes the earth for the winter, for the cold time, and in spring she gives the key up there. I'll talk about it later. And so yeah, the MRT, Mrt, part of her name is present in many languages to represent death. Like we have mort in Italian, or rather Latin. Also in Polish, to die is mrzeć, umierać. Marnieć means to wither. Also, we have the meaning of the dreams. Marzenie is a dream. And we have a word mara, which means a specter or a ghost. And we have it also in English for the nightmare. And she's... what I also wanted to say is that we have like a saying in Polish that many people misunderstand, and it's tłuc się jak marek po piekle, which means bumping into things like a marek in hell. However, the marek here, usually people write it with capital M, which is a mistake, because it's not. Marek is a Polish version of name Mark, but in this instance it comes from the word Marek, which means ghost, deceased person. So we have those names for dwellers of Navia that can be like traced from the name for the land. Nawki, Mawki are these, or some spirits later believed to be dangerous. Sometimes they are called Vele, from Veles' name, and sometimes they are called Marki, from Mara, Marzanna. Also, this name connects her to the sea, so it's Latin mare, Polish morze, Russian morie. So she's also a goddess of waters. And also, if you wanted to associate a tree with her, it might be hazel. One last thing about her is, as far as I know, in southern Slavic belief, we have also kind of like a light bringer, aurora person, goddess. She's either Danica or Dennica, which means which comes from the word for the day. So yeah, just to mention that. Okay, then we get to this symbol I talked about in the video about Slavic pagan symbols. You can check it out. I put it here in the center because yeah, it marks the center. So now we have Rarok or Rarug. I put him here to represent god Svarozhic, and he represents here, well, as I said, one of the things I said, the sacred guardian of the tree, but also Svarozhic himself is seen by some as the personification of the fire that we have on Earth, like in our bonfire. But fire was believed sacred, just like the Earth was sacred. Fire was sacred too. Some say it's again an Iranian influence here. And he has a really important role of, just to finish, Raruk is a name of a kind of a fiery bird. In Russian tradition we have Żar Ptica, so the firebird. In Polish it's Raruk. It's also a name for a species of falcons. But we have also examples of some demons called this, so it seems that it just, like many deities and entities from the older faith, it got interpreted as demonic and bad. But yeah, most probably with Svarozhic we can associate the falcon. And he, as fire, he is an intermediary between worlds. It's a very important role because fire, it was present on earth, but it also could send the offerings up to the gods, so to Virai, and also it sent souls to the proper place for them, because Slavic people very commonly practice cremation of the dead, except children. Little children were put back to the earth, but normally you would burn the dead. So the sacred fire would transport the dead to Navia as well. Well, and in a way also to Virai, because some part of them would be those birdies, right? And he can bless and purify his. There were some traditions on some of the major holidays. A new fire would be made in a traditional way, so with stone, like rubbing stones together, or using this kind of what's it called? Well, anyway, a device made from wood that would start a fire. And it was practiced near the churches till, I don't know, beginning of 20th century in some countries. So, it's a really, it was a really important thing. So Svarozhic, the name might mean either little Svarog, because we will be talking about Svarog as well, or Svarug, or it might mean son of Svarog, or, since I will be talking more about this later, but Svarog comes from the word Svarga, that means, actually in Sanskrit it means heaven of Indra, but also heavens and the light and things like that. Yes, so it would be logical that such a sacred thing as fire would be seen as a heavenly being. So it might also be called like a son of heavens. So some people see him as a pair with his father. Some say he is just a younger version, and he would be personified as as a human too. But I just put him here as a representation because it's hard to fit in everything here, So where was I? So it might be like he's either younger version of him or his son, something like that. So its ending means son of, or a diminutive. It also might mean the diminutive might also mean like an endearment, you know. So, but yeah, the word for fire itself is ogyen, and it has clear Indo-Iranian connotations. We know of god of fire, Agni. For example, bonfire is ognisko. It's very close. And the falcon is a solar bird. Okay, not to forget these lovely creatures here, yeah, because I almost, you know, went ahead. But yeah, let's maybe focus on these guys as well. So, as I said, this is the forest, and we have a ruler of the forest, often in a way connected to Veles. He would be called in Russian tradition Leshi, in Polish Leśny Duch, so forest spirit. So las, leśny means forest of the woods. So spirit of the woods. There are many names for him, but if you research Leshi, you will find quite a lot. And there was a Leshi in the Witcher's game, by the way. The Witcher novels and games are great, you know, adventure into the Slavic world, because there's a lot of things inspired by Slavic mythology and tradition. So yeah, he had various powers. For example, he could shapeshift. He would be he could be as tall as the tallest tree, or as small as the smallest grass. Some say his height depended on where he was. If he was in the deep forest, he would be tall, and if he was at the border of the forest, he would be tiny. But yeah, he was the lord of the forest. And there were, of course, many spirits. I must tell you, Slavic demonology is a huge topic. It is so rich. I won't cover it for sure in this video. It's impossible. Just to give you a peek here, what we have here, these are like categories. Like demons of fate, demon of river banks, or mountains, or waters, female, male, and so on it goes. So you see, these are categories, and these are all the names gathered in the Slavic world. So yeah, if you're from a Slavic country, or you speak a Slavic language, you can take a look, pause, and look at that. Okay. And I'm sure it's not all, but it just shows that I simply cannot talk about them all and even mention their names, because seriously, seriously. But we had those, wait a minute, what did I write about? Okay, oh, sorry. I have something. Is it here? I have my bookmarks for this purpose. Okay, so in Eastern tradition in Belarus and Ukraine, we get the famous rusalki, and it's believed that the name is not Slavic in origin, that it's a borrowed word from Latin. The name comes from Rosalia, Greek Rusalia, or Latin dies rose, so days of days or deities. Oh, it seems like a day of roses. But yeah, it doesn't matter. The creatures were like older, and some say these are more commonly known as, like, more commonly in other Slavic areas, Slavic countries, as Vila, or Polish Viła, so plural Viły. And yes, you might have heard of them if you read or watched Harry Potter, because there are those creatures from Bulgaria, and it's, yeah, they speak the Slavic language, they have Slavic traditions, so they have vilas too. So they would be charming ladies who might be benevolent, but also they might be dangerous. They liked to dance in the moonlight, you know, a lot like nymphs. They might, you know, lure young men to play with them and then tickle them to death. Yeah, tickling to death was a very common way for the spirits to finish you off. It's really funny, but it appears so many times. I sometimes think if it's not a euphemism for something else, it might be. But yeah. So we get Viły. It might come from Vicens, this kind of movement or this kind of movement, okay, whirling around. Also might be with wej, so wiać, as in blow, as a wind. They could shapeshift, might be in the shape of a swan, of a falcon, or a horse. And yeah, they lived in the forest. And then we get another sprite type. So they were water nymphs. And what do I have here? Sorry, getting lost. And they also had really a lot of names. Also, these here, it's a bit complicated, but it's believed that rusalki or vile, they would live in the water during the winter time, and in spring they would appear, maybe not in the forest, but in the places like swamps or just near the forest. And it really plays well with this idea also of Marzanna coming back to the waters at the beginning of spring, and then being reborn. I see some kind of a connection here. So we also, of course, might see like an image of a goddess demonized, let's say, or like her being spread onto many sprites and demons. But yeah, as I said, Slavic demonology is extremely rich. Most of the spirits and creatures would come from the dead, meaning they are the souls of people who died unnatural deaths. So the rusalki would be, or viły, they would be souls of young women who didn't get married or who almost got married, like they died on the day of their wedding or just after. And so they, where was I? So those that lived, as I said, in the swamps and other like border-like places would be the same as these, but some of the forest spirits like Leshy and others would not, they seem not to come from people, from souls, okay? What else I wanted to say so that I don't forget? About the sacred fire transporting you to the right place after you're dead. Some people believe that because Slavic tradition is extremely rich with all kind of vampires and bloodthirsty undead. The word vampire comes from Slavic language. I believe it's from Serbian, vampir. In Polish we had wąpierz. It's just different phonetics, but it's the same word. And what's funny, it came back to Polish in the form of vampir. So since it got popular in the West, it made a turn. So wąpierz we really use as an archaic word now, and for vampires we have vampir. Digression again. So some people think that because when Christianity came, the cremation of the body got banned. People were so frightened that their dead won't, go to the right place, that they will come back. The body is still in the earth, it might come back. That it gave birth to many horrible, scary creatures, such as, all kinds of vampires and others. Other ways for the souls to travel would be, there is a belief that during the day the souls travel through the rainbow, like from the earth to heavens. They travel through a rainbow, and during the night through the Milky Way. That's why I put these two here. And then lastly, I still have these guys here. So of course they were envisioned in many various ways, but there were of course also male demons, water demons called in Polish it might be utopiec or wodnik, Russian wodianoi, and many other names. They might look like men, they might look like weird creatures, and they might want to drown you. Rusalki as well, or Vile, they might want to drown you. And yeah, so it was not safe to be bathing in waters outside before Kupala night, which is around summer solstice. Okay, other than that, Slavic people used a lot of, regularly they used something that's called bania, and it means bath, but in a type of sauna. So something we also know from like Finland and other places like that. So yeah. If you wanted to live, don't enter a river or a lake before Kupala night.